Welcome everyone to Farming Together's third webinar in our series of 7 on collaborative business models and structures. Tonight's topic is galvanizing hidden strengths, building community knowledge and support networks. And tonight we've got 3 special guests who we've invited along because even though some of them may not think they're really good at building trust and engaging their farmers, we know that these people are actually exceptional people in their community, building and supporting those relationships with farmers. So we really were looking forward to hearing their discussion tonight and their experiences sharing with us. Simone, do you want to talk a little bit about how this works from a Zoom perspective?
Yeah, certainly, and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us live, and thanks for tuning in if you're listening to the recording as well. So in terms of the Zoom functionality tonight, we'll just keep mics on mute. If you've got a question, just pop it into the chat. Each speaker is going to have a presentation or have a chat, and then we'll open the floor for some Q&A as well. So plenty of time to ask questions throughout the evening, but just pop them in the chat. Thanks, Amanda.
Fantastic. All right, so we've got our three fantastic guests tonight. The first is Diana Fear, who's the CEO of Central West Farming Systems Inc. The second is Ken Drummond, member of Sterling's to Coast, but also, Ken, are you chair of the WA Producers Cooperative?
Yes, I am.
Yep. And Nikki Curtis, who's the acting CEO of the Grower Group Alliance. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome you all and open to you, Diana.
Hello, thanks everybody for having me. It's lovely to be here with Ken and Nikki, and I hope you all enjoy the presentation. So I live at Condobolin in the central west of New South Wales, and I work for Central West Farming Systems, which is a not-for-profit farming organisation that was brought into existence by local growers in 1998 to try and get some funding for low rainfall research in our area. It was a bit more difficult to get that sort of funding out here. So our growers took it upon themselves to start up this organisation. So I feel like my life is actually is all about collaboration. I live in a small rural community, and for those of you that live in these types of communities, you know that we all help each other all the time. We all know what's going on with each other. My work's all about collaboration. And then, on the family front, we run a family farm. So that's also all about collaboration. And I have 2 teenage children. So although the collaboration probably ends there and it turns into a bit of coercion many times. So I'll give you a bit of a presentation of Central West Farming Systems. So let me see if I can share my screen and get into this for you. So Simone, can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so that's CWFS is the acronym for Central West Farming Systems. So let me just move this on. Okay. So as I've mentioned before, we're an independent, not-for-profit, farmer-driven organisation. We cover an area of 14 million hectares in this low rainfall mixed farming region of Central West New South Wales. We have all types of activities. We do RD and E, so we have research, we do demonstration, and we have extension. We're probably falling into a lot of extension activities at the moment, particularly after 3 years of drought, where most of our trial work didn't come to fruition. So our trials include all the regional issues such as weed disease, pest management, crop, soil nutrition, soil health, water use efficiency, crop rotations, soil acidity. So we generally cover most of the agronomy that our growers are looking for in this region or are dealing with. That's just gives you a bit of an idea of where we sit. So Condobolin's actually right in the centre of New South Wales. So I think we're near the dead centre actually, which 40-degree heat in summer, it feels like it. So our extension and collaboration, and I know Nikki and Ken will be exactly the same about you know, how to really maximise our collaboration levels with stakeholders and our extension, getting our message across to farmers, to advisors, to local businesses, to community members and universities. So part of the success of CWFS is because it is farmer driven. So what we give the community and the farming community out here is what they're really looking for. So that's really important. I think you have to know your audience well. And we also involve stakeholders from across the whole of the ag sector. We bring in national people, we bring in local, state, and we look at encouraging people to think about sort of how the future of agriculture and farming is going to be, and you know, thinking outside the square. So that's a really important aspect of what we do. And look, I put this up because I think this is really important to kind of emphasize how important it is to know your audience. So what we say to dogs is, you know, okay, Ginger, I've had it, stay out of the garbage. And what they hear is blah, blah, blah. So unless you can engage an audience and do something that people want, it's pretty much wasted time and money. So I think everybody kind of needs to keep that as a top priority. So some of the activities that we do, we have lots of crop walks and field days. That's a robot from Sydney University. So so we really try, and you know, we have partnerships that they're some of our partnerships that we have currently. We've got a few more actually that I haven't updated that tonight. But look, you know, we wouldn't exist without strong partnerships and collaboration. The other thing about collaboration, I guess, and partnerships is knowing what both of you want out of that partnership. So as you can see, this cartoon makes the point that, you know, they both want the same thing, but they're not sure what they can bring to the partnership. So that's important to be, you know, very clear about what you can all do to really for the common purpose. One of our major projects that I've been involved with for a long time now is the Women and Youth Project, which was established in 2009. And that really was to increase women's participation and highlight career opportunities for young people to stay in the agricultural sector. I'm not sure about Nikki and Ken, but a lot of young people particularly moved out into higher paying industries like mining. And so we sort of had a bit of a drain of young people in our area. So we're really trying to increase their participation and also to really encourage women to play more of an active role. Sometimes they have come from good jobs in metropolitan cities to marry farmers, or have moved out here to work at schools, and then they become they play a role in the farming business. So upskilling those women to make more decisions in that farming business has been a big thing, and it's been great to see over the last 20 years that's really happened. It's amazing to see how many women agronomists we've got now. So it's very satisfying. This is one of our flagship events, which is the Women and Youth in Agriculture Conference we have at the Ag Station here at Condobolin. But a keynote speaker was Fiona O'Loughlin, the comedian, which was great. So that was in 2019 in March, and we were in our third year of drought. So it was a particularly a great opportunity to get everybody together and celebrate and forget the drought for the day. In 2016, CWFS was invited to India with CSU and the NGO, Indian NGO Pradhan, and that was to look at women's self-help groups in rural areas. And we visited Delhi for a conference, which was looking at transformation of the rural areas. And part of that was through the development of these women-focused self-help groups. which was amazing to go and see, and it certainly taught us a lot. And I think, you know, you can see a photo here. So these women are at one of their meetings, and on the ground, they're looking at some of the photos that we brought over, which was, you know, our children, our farming lifestyle, which is very much broadacre. So these women have been working in farms that are tiny, and we were all in it actually together to look at how to, you know, increase production, increase profitability, increase sustainability. So Pradhan has set up these groups and taught them marketing and taught them about crop rotations and soil water use efficiency, and they've had a massive impact on those rural communities. I think there are actually about 65,000 of these self-help groups now. So there's been a big domino effect, and you know, these women have really had to fight to make those decisions through a much more hierarchical kind of, you know, religious and economic and political structure that they've got there. So they've done some amazing things. So actually from that visit in India, we came back and we started an ag marketing project, which was funded by Farming Together. So we created 2 self-help groups of women in our area, and brought them together. We took them to various organisations and looked at marketing strategies. So we really focused on marketing of commodities, so that often women may be at home with children, and there's an opportunity there for them to be able to take over some of the marketing of their on-farm commodities. Particularly, you know, at the moment it's harvest and it's frantic, so it's sort of an opportunity that some of those women thought was a good way to make more of a to participate more in their farming business. So that was a really successful project. We've a lot of women there are very keen to continue that. This is just another photo of one of our field days, and really it's very hands-on, very grassroots, and I think that's really the success of organisations like this. You know, has to be needed, and you know, we need to be a single voice for farmers in our region. So there's a sort of a commonality of purpose, and I think that you know, that's been the main thing for us, like, to really push what we do, and to give farmers more of a voice in Parliament, in some of the RDCs. So it's been a great experience to be involved with such a group. I'm just trying to think of what, at the moment, actually, one of our recent funding was a project with FRRR. So we're looking at upskilling people to work remotely from home, from some of their isolation. You know, they face issues about isolation and they might be a long way from town. So, which is quite good timing with COVID-19, really. I think everybody's understanding that to have more access to work from home is really important. So, I mean, and obviously some of the challenges we face are connectivity issues. So really, we're excited about this project, but it will really bring to the fore what needs to be done in outback New South Wales to make the, you know, farming businesses more profitable. So what else? I think probably that's, so I'll just quickly say as well that, you know, so my role is basically very focused on collaboration, and we work with other farming systems groups. We work with government. We work with our local LLS groups. We work with local councils. We work with community organisations, and we wouldn't exist without that sort of level of collaboration. And yeah, I think it's obviously what makes, you know, part of this job so rewarding as well, is to meet so many people there that that all want to do the same thing, which is to keep our rural communities resilient, improve the Australian agricultural industry, give us sustainability, food security, and all work with that common goal. So I have been very fortunate to be in this position. So yeah, that's probably my little bit about Central West farming systems.
Thank you very much, Diana. I just want to know how you manage it all. It sounds like there's so much going on.
There is a lot going on, and I often don't manage it all, Amanda. Look, I think, having a good team is really important, and we have a really fantastic team. So that makes it all possible. I think also we've got a very engaged board, and most of them are local farmers. So you can, ring them up at any time and say, quick, what do I do? I need a truck, or I need this, and they'll come on board. So it's very much a team effort. So that's really so collaboration is just everything. Every day is collaboration. So it's a great thing.
Is this question time now, Simone?
Yeah, I was wondering if anyone had any questions for Diana. And thanks for sharing, Diana. It's always a pleasure hearing and learning more.
Oh, that's a pleasure.
Yeah, amazing.
I got a question.
I agree with Amanda. Okay. It's like, it just seems impossible.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's amazing, the power of collaboration, when you do it well.
Oh, it's true. That's so true. And I just think we forget. I've actually found COVID-19 quite challenging because I do find it much easier to physically be with people, and I find that that's actually the sort of the tribal social nature of what I do really has been quite challenging. And I know Nikki and Ken, just trying to organise a video workshop, a field day, is very much more difficult to engage people, because they're not on the ground. They're not just doing all that incidental chatting and asking questions and hearing someone say something and the next door neighbour saying, oh, well, what about this? And everyone suddenly gets on board. So I've really missed that in the last 9 months. Yeah.
Mm.
I've got a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it, Ken.
Do you have enough resources, Diana?
No. No, we're always looking for resources. So I guess that's part of the problem, really. We are, always dependent on funding from a range of organisations. I think funding's become more competitive. Funding is a major issue. So we're always continually, looking for opportunities. I think, we work so collaboratively with people that, we're always managing to be okay. But no, funding is, we need to really, we probably need a new plot header. And so I've got to try and sort of work out how to get that sort of funding. So for next year, because we're having, it's frustrating to have old gear that you might need upgrading, and, so, yeah. So if Ken, if you have any funding opportunities, just give me a call offline, as they say.
So do you think the current system's okay then with the funding?
I don't know. I should be careful what I say here. It's a little bit frustrating because I think everyone is competing for the same bucket of money, and that can be good because we can all collaborate. But often I have found that we are asked to do more and more for less and less, and that's a little bit frustrating. And I don't know whether it's because we're not for profit too. People expect us to do a lot for very little, and I've noticed that. So some of the funding organisations, they don't. I think they expect everybody to do a lot for less. I don't know whether you found that recently.
Yeah.
Do you find it similar situation, Ken?
Yes, I do. But it's always the biggest problem with the grower groups, of course. I think it's a bad system. You know, I really feel like you should be able to put forward an agenda, and, you know, rather than wait for opportunities. And also, not enough is made of leverage, you know, with industry, I suppose. You know that you know, you could attract as much money from industry, you know, or private industry. Yeah, so I really feel like we need a better system for sure. Yeah.
I think we've just set a whole new topic for a whole nother webinar.
Can I just mention too, and can you make a really good point there, because like groups like mine, you have to be very careful that you don't chase funding for funding's sake and not be doing what the growers that you have want you to do. And, you know, so that's the key thing. You have to make sure that you don't see, you know, just want to go and, you know, write some project that isn't relevant to your growers. So that's the other thing you have to be a bit careful of.
Absolutely.
Okay, no questions in the chat, so thank you, Diana. If anyone's got any questions, Diana's gonna you'll stay on, I'm assuming, Diana. So
yes, I will. Yep.
That come up, we can address those later on.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Diana. So our second speaker for this evening is Ken Drummond, and Amanda, do you want to introduce?
Sure. So yes, Ken, I think you were a founding member of Sterling's to Coast, if that's right, which is also a farmer-led research group. But you've also, through the work with Sterling's to Coast, formed the WA Producers Cooperative, for which you are now chair. So I guess you've got kind of two hats on, but it would be lovely to hear both stories.
Yeah, so thanks, Amanda. Lovely to see you, Sam. Seen you for a while. Yeah, so it took a while to get. We're a new kid on the block, so we're one of the youngest groups, I would say, in Western Australia, and it took us a while to convince my fellow farmers that we needed to join the club. You know, Nikki, you know, from Sepwa, you know, was always the sort of the standard, the standard, I suppose, that we always wanted to go for. So that all went okay, you know, we sort of got going, and etc. But one of our main things is that, you know, we wanted to try and be self-funding, and so that we could, you know, have an income, you know, and not rely on grants, etc. You know, so that's where the opportunity came along through this initiative, Farming Together. And so we started on that process. I must say that our CEO at the time of Sterling Coast Farmers, Christine Kershaw, I'm sure that you all know, has just been instrumental in getting us going, and through her we've had the resources, the expertise, etc., and confidence to you know, to go for these things, or to try and build something. Yeah. So that's where we're up to, and Sam's here from the New South Wales Co-ops Federation, and so Sam did a lot of work with us in establishing the rules and setting up our co-op. Yeah.
So tell us a bit about how you brought people along on this journey with you, Ken, because I imagine when you're pitching a really big concept like a producers cooperative, I guess some farmers could get on board really quickly, but others kind of want to sit behind and watch and get proof in that concept before they're willing to sort of step forward. Can you talk about that experience, like what it was like getting people on board?
Yes, well, I must say it's been disappointing with the number of people that have joined us. So our Sterling Coast Farmers, you know, we do have 80 farm businesses involved, and we do cover quite a lot of the production down south of the Stirling Ranges to Albany and east of Boxwood Hills, and west to, say, Franklin might be our geographical area. We've only been able to, at the moment, we've got about 15 members that have joined up, and I think one of the big things is that we don't we're not too sure what our plan is, you know. So we're sort of still developing what we're, you know, where the market fail is and what sort of plan, you know, the plan is. My motivation is that smaller farmers are leaving the industry, and the motivation for me is to try and increase their production per hectare, so that they can farm on smaller acreages, and also to try and be a price setter, you know, rather than a price taker that we've always had. And so last year we had a pilot program selling lambs, you know. So we with the processor B.B. Walsh, and they gave us a premium, and we guaranteed them a certain number of lambs at a certain quality. So that's what we're trying to do at the moment, is sort of just be a supply co-op. And I think I can see as many synergies behind the farm gate with our production, genetics, and provenance, and security, food security, and all those things, and actually sort of asking the customers what they would like, you know, and try and provide that. So we're sort of saying that, okay, that we're going to have a WA produces a cooperative lamb, you know, so this is the standard lamb, you know, and eventually, hopefully, that we will have our own branding and processing. There's a co-op in New South Wales called the Alliance Group, which are very, very successful. Sorry, in New Zealand, and they've got 4,000 members. They've been going since 1943 or something like that, but they turn over 1.7 billion, and so they do the whole lot, you know. And at that conference of the Farming Together, they had an American CEO, I think it was, of a huge crop over there, you know, and it seems to be like in America or in certain places that they have a co-op in each area, you know, and those co-ops, they just provide just about everything. Yeah. So getting that across to our farmers and taking the leap is a bit difficult, particularly when there's been so much money spent on it. You know, we've had a huge amount of support from federal and state governments and local government. Everyone wants us to get going, so they've put a huge amount of money in, and to belong to the co-op is not very much money. You know, so I think it's $3,500 to become a member, and then you have to buy a $500 membership, just one share, and then there's $350 a year for membership. So those people who participated last year in our lamb pilot, you know, they made all that money back. You know, so they've returned their money already. You know, but also now they own a 15th of whatever we've got. You know, and so the return has been quite enormous. Yeah. But difficult times with everything going so well, you know, with commodity prices, you know, people don't really want to upset the system, you know, so it's very difficult to get this going. And we've also, with our, you know, linked our brand and to do exporting and do some trials there, that's been difficult with COVID. You know, the export side of things just been wiped out, yeah, with the air freight and things there. Yeah.
So Ken, I mean, it does sound like quite a good proposition. You think that people are nervous about making a change, or what do you think the reason is that is stopping more engagement at this point?
I honestly don't know, and I think one of the problems is that they don't have enough time to do the research to find out about us. You know, most of these people are people I grew up with, and I know them very well, and they know our track record, etc. You know, and so don't you want to set up something for your children, and, you know, succession planning and you know, get involved? And yeah, we do. You know, it's a great idea. I said, well, what's the problem? Yeah, so I don't know. That's sort of where we're up to. You know, maybe we don't have a good enough plan, you know, because I can see us in the future, you know, having a communal feedlot, which most small farmers, you know, it's an impost and they don't do it that well. maybe, forming partnerships with pelleting mills, and there's lots of opportunities, and wool is one, to prove provenance and traceability on wool, and then everyone says, but this is what everyone's looking for, the customers, but it's sort of this gap there that's.
I think it'll get there. It sounds like it's a good proposition, and just keep pushing through. And I think, COVID's disrupted things a bit this year, but it'll come back around, I think.
Well, sorry, Amanda, but I think in some respects it's quite fortunate that we don't have very many members, because I think that we'd be in a lot of trouble if we, all of a sudden we had 100,000 lambs to sell, So this has given us the opportunity, I feel, to sort of consolidate, and go very slowly. And we don't have any rose-coloured glasses. We know that we probably it's going to take us 4 or 5 years to actually, get up and going and do something. So we're just sort of concentrating on our governance, and all those things, because there's been so many failures out there, and also we're not naive about branding. Branding's obviously it's huge. As soon as you lose supply, then you're done. So, I'm still optimistic about it, and we've got an excellent board. We've got 3 independent members, and then we've got 3 other farmers on the board. We've got 2-3 women involved. So we're quite well set up to succeed.
Fantastic. I'm also interested in what other work Sterling's to Coast has been doing.
Well, a big part of this, and also a big part of the co-op, is this digitalisation, or whatever it is, and the fact that this data is going to be valuable to you on your farms, and it'll be on your balance sheet. So it's going to. So we're focusing quite a lot on that, and Christine's doing a project at the moment with Hitachi and BizCube about building an app and being able to capture that information and present it in a reasonable way, and so electronic tags and all those things. So we are in the same offices doing the Coast Farmers, and we're also sharing that information there. In retrospect, we probably should have tried to not have a co-op, but tried to make Sterling to Coast Farmers the collaborative, body or whatever. So all of a sudden that we would have all those members in part of it. So, and particularly with the aim that we wanted to be self-sufficient, with our grower group there. So, but we're doing a lot of, we've had Jeff Duddy over a couple of times. So we've had workshops about production, about capturing information, and on the digital side, and we've been busy with Pivotal. We've set up, I think it's 15 or 20 towers so have our own connection, so we don't rely on NBN, so we have our own network. So at the moment we're busy putting in weather stations. So I think there's about 40 to go out. So we see that weather is one of the issues that we can build. We can have localised information, and in the future have better algorithms and decision making about what you do on the farm and how you do it, and then of course genetics is the other side of things. So a lot of our farmers are not 100% stock, so most of them are about 30% and 70% cropping, and so the expertise is really not there to be exactly correct or exactly precise on your feedlotting, etc. So there's a lot of wastage there, so that's where I feel that the co-op can help.
We just actually, our first webinar session we had was actually talking about data cooperatives or data sharing. So I can hear some synergies there and the opportunities for using that data to as you say, reduce waste and so forth. It's a really powerful opportunity there.
Yeah. No, it's very exciting, but it's just huge, and it's hard for farmers to get their head around. So if they've got a friend, is working for them, like the co-op, surely it's going to make things easy. Yeah.
I like that, a friend like the co-op.
Yeah, well, it's a trusted, because we're not trying to profit from the farmers. We're trying to increase their profits. So it's a nice thing to have, a nice resource to have. Yeah.
Absolutely. Simone, I think I saw some questions pop up.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions in here for you, Ken. So the first one is from Greg, who's got sheep in Boyup Brook. He says, "Hi, Ken, I'm a farmer, although not really quite in your area, but it is hard for me to identify your point of difference that is really going to give me an additional return. The cost is an investment in an unknown and must be considered a barrier to entry. From a marketing point of view, I find it hard to identify a clear elevator pitch to consider when deciding the benefits."
Yeah, so and that's fair enough, and I suppose we've had some help, trying to develop our a QA standard, etc. And I suppose we can just look at sort of what's happening in other places around the world. There's a cooperative or a standard called Scotch Beef in Scotland, and they attract €100 extra on all their animals because of that traceability, etc. So it gives them it's a fantastic marketing tool if people know how those animals have been treated. The Alliance group in New Zealand are concentrating on taste, and so intramuscular fat. So they're making that a point of difference, not necessarily growth rates. So there's all sorts of things, that we can do. Wamco is a lamb cooperative here, which is a processor, and so they are wanting a carcass of 22 kilos. Fletcher's International is also big here, and also in the eastern states, in Dubbo. And they want a 30 kilo animal. So if we could increase the standard or whatever, so that we're delivering a 30 kilo animal, I mean that's a fair bit of money. $7 a kilo. Yeah. So I think that those, so it's hard to prove these things, but that's the resources we have, being a cooperative, that we can find out about this, what's going on in the world, and what else is happening. And it's very difficult as an individual to tap into that.
It sounds like it gives you a lot of control and power back over what you're actually doing.
Well, hopefully, yeah. And so everyone's saying that they want food security and provenance, etc. Well, this is how you can do it, but it's very difficult to do it individually.
Yeah, exactly. We've got another question here for you, Ken, from Ross Hardy. He says, "Hi, Ken, do you know what insights you are hoping to find from analysis data?" He's just given some context too. "I should say I'm new to farming and have a small hobby farm in Macedon Ranges, Victoria. I do understand the tech world and have been looking at ag tech."
Yes, I'm not too sure, but it's like something like if he's a sheep producer, so using Australian breeding values and what to look for and what to what sort of rams to buy, etc. And I suppose the co-op has got a huge amount of information, and resources like on nutrition, etc., and what's achievable and what's not. So rather than as an individual, as I've done in my career, to find out what works and what doesn't, you can very quickly get the right information, and to save you that sort of hassle. Yeah.
I think, Ken, what we've heard generally from a lot of farmers is that they recognise that collectively there's a heck of a lot of data available that could be really valuable for the farmers. But part of the problem is how to aggregate and analyse and disseminate that data in a way that is really useful on the ground to the farmers. I think it still sort of seems to be a lot of talk about how that can be done.
Yeah, and it can be done, and you just have to have the right expertise to do that. And like as an example, Hitachi, where has been involved with feedlot in Dubbo, and the owner of the farm came and presented out our spring field day to Stirling Coast Farmers Spring Day, and say here's a 40,000 head feedlot. And in 2018, which was a very bad drought in Dubbo, they increased their production by 20%. Just by that data. Like having the right data about the animals that they were putting in, and about how they were treating them, and so there's plenty of great examples that you can it can be really increase your profit, your bottom line by not having up-to-date information, I suppose. Yeah. I think this is like part of what certainly those farmers do. It's that extension. I'm not telling you anything new, but you go to conferences and you have scientists and people with expertise that telling you all these great things that you can use on your farm. Yeah, and I say, well, I'm not too sure how to go about that. Can you come down and show me how to do it? They don't seem to come down and say, okay, this is what I got for you. The variable rate inputs, which is taken off in Esperance, but probably not many other places in Australia. I'm not too sure, but it's only because they have the expertise down there and the business that provides that information. The guy that developed it, the scientist, it was like 20. Nikki be able to tell me, but 20, 30 years ago, and the uptake has just been tiny. It's such a wonderful tool, but the farmers just can't get their head around it and spend that time in the office or whatever setting it up.
Ross just commented as well that app building is very, very expensive and takes a long time to build. You'd need 100,000 plus.
Absolutely, and we're getting that support from industry and from the MLA and from Deep Bird, from the state and federal government. So they are all wanting, and that's the benefit of the co-op also, I think, is that it's a community sort of group or whatever, so for the benefit of the farmers. And so as long as they sort of doing what they said they're going to do, or and spending the money wisely, there's a huge amount of resources out there that's a part of it.
And Greg's asked, he said, hi Ken, as well, does Livestock Data Link, LDL, tie in your group's journey at all? And thanks for the discussions.
Yes, absolutely. We're not about to try and reinvent the wheel. So any collaboration or any partnerships with the industry or whatever, we're into. And I probably don't know enough about that, but certainly, any opportunity that we can use. There's a lady in Albany that's developed a program, Lucy Annington, who about decision making. So, are you going to feedlot sheep, or when is the best time of the year to sell them, and all that sort of thing. So, that sort of information. I think I went to a food agility conference and a workshop, and they were going to, this big app, it's all going to happen, and I think the whole thing fell apart, But one of the first questions was, well, in 10 years' time, what sort of decisions are you going to be making on your farm? And the answer was, well, not many. Most of the decisions will be made for you. That you can have that information, so you can take the risk out of and gut feel, so you can make farming less risky, I suppose. I mean, a pretty good way to say it, but more secure.
Sounds like another group that's got a lot happening, Ken.
Yes, it has, and I'm unfortunately I was the inaugural chairman of the Eastern Coast Farm Group, and we've sort of trying to have a turnover every 2 years, and now we're stuck. We can't find anyone that's going to put their hand up, and so I'm back doing it again, and I just feel, people get sick of the same people, so it's that apathy that we just find it very difficult, and the confidence, getting farmers to put their hand up and you say to them, look, you're quite capable, but a lot of people just don't have the confidence. Millennials would do it, but the millennials are all out there building their enterprises and having families, etc. So, and I try to get my peers to say, well, this is with the group, I try to, everything that we do is to put $1 per hectare on it, so this is how much you're going to save or you're going to make by adopting this practice, and so then it becomes, then the argument then is, well, you need this group to make more profit, and so this should be included in your workload, so if I don't have any kids going back to the farm, but I certainly would be saying to them that this is the opportunity for you to get the information and also upskill yourself on boards and all this. There's further education. But no, there's got to go and drive the tractor.
Can I just also, Can
So,
I just make a point too, Ken, about provenance? I think consumers need to be educated too about food and farming, and because often they don't understand or have a level of ignorance or misinformation, and I think that's something that really needs to be encouraged more, so that we don't have, and often I'll look at some food and I'll wonder, is it a marketing or is it actually true? So I think there is a big gap there, that people actually have to understand what a lot of the aspects of farming, and if you're going to increase your value for that product, why it is worthwhile, etc. So I do think education needs to be sort of on a number of levels.
Absolutely, and that social license to farm. What the community expects of you and what their standards are. And in a climate that's getting more and more removed. When I was younger, most people in the city knew of a farmer or went and visited a farm sometime, and now you have that total disconnect. So, and I think that's something that farmers haven't done well at all. That now it's a little bit of suspicion about. Is our food, it's okay, and is it genetically modified? All those things there, mule sheep, and all that sort of thing. How they've been treated. So, absolutely, it's a valid point.
Greg's just asked if there are any rural leadership programs in your area, Ken.
Yes, there is. I think I'm not too sure about. I don't know much about that. But there's certainly, a huge amount of courses for governance, being a director, running companies. So there's a lot of through business council, etc. So there's a lot of programs, and there's a lot of opportunities to upskill yourself for sure. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Ken. Might move over to Nikki now. And did you want to introduce Nikki, Amanda?
Sure. Welcome, Nikki Curtis, the acting CEO of Grower Group Alliance. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. And thanks, Ken and Diana, for your presentations. It's really great to hear that. And I think it's all mean of everybody else for me not to be able to see you all, but I can see Amanda and Simone, and it's funny to see that you've both got your lights on there, and here it's broad daylight. So, which does make you look better, I think. Well, I'm looking at myself here in bright light. So I've got a presentation, but I just wanted to first say that I just love working with growers and grower groups, and I think people like Ken are so inspirational. The amount of time that Ken's provided that's been free and for his industry, and I've loved working with the growers, mostly in the Esperance region, like Ken, and that is makes it all such a better job when you feel like you're working with people for all the right reasons. So Ken, I think that it's fantastic what you've done. So my background is that I come from a farming family in Esperance, and my parents and my brothers still farm down there. They're in cattle farming, and my husband's a consultant in Esperance, and I worked with the grower group a lot, with Southeast Premium Wheat Growers, which is a grower group in Esperance, for 9 years prior to taking on this position 2 months ago, while the CEO takes maternity leave with her first baby at the age of 45. So before that, I worked in communications with the Department of Primary Industries and Regional Development in Esperance. So I've just prepared a bit of a slide, which hopefully is going to come across right. How's that?
You just need to click on the green share screen bottom down the bottom there, Nikki.
What's that?
You need to click on that green share screen button.
Ah, shit, the share screen. Yes, forgot about that. Okay, so
there we go. Perfect.
good.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Nikki.
Okay. So I'll see if I can move this across because it's on another screen. So as I said, I'm now with GGA after working with CWFS for, I just can't work out how it's, hang on. Oh yeah, good. For 9 years. So I'll start off just talking a little bit about GGA. So the Grower Group Alliance was established in 2002 and has been going, was mostly funded through GRDC before the Department of Primary Industries took on funding it in 2014. And then in 2019, a collaboration council was formed, and the Minister for Agriculture here provided over $4.3 million, I think it was, for 4 years to support the organisation. So GGA is about supporting grower groups like CWFS and Sterling's to Coast. And all, it's got just under 60 grower groups across Western Australia. And from that map, you can see just how large Western Australia is, and just how we do have a couple of groups in the north, but mostly in the south west part of the state, which is where most of the agriculture is in WA. And I think it would be fair to say that WA, we're different in many ways. As you'd all know, in the eastern states, it's not just about closing our borders where we're different, but also it's about the way that we have our farming systems here. We're a Mediterranean climate, and most of our commodity is actually exported. So, so we are quite different to the eastern states, and I think that's probably why we've had such strong grower groups remain in our state, whereas it's been different maybe in other areas of Australia, because in order to service our areas, it's quite difficult to do so. And so growers have had to take on a lot of that, supporting their own industry themselves. So GGA's aim is to support a producer-led system of innovation and adoption. And we do that with 3 main themes, which is about capacity building in our groups, building and driving research and development in WA, and also showing leadership through support of our grower groups across WA. So yeah, so just a bit of background on the collaboration agreement there, which I think I've already covered off on. And yeah, capacity building, research, development and leadership, which the capacity building we do through such things as providing a calendar to our network, and information is sent out on a fortnightly basis. We do training and workshops for such things as project management, leadership, as was talked about earlier, governance and strategy, public speaking. There's numerous capacity building workshops that we provide across the year. And then research and development. We have a number of programs that we broker to bring into Western Australia that we work on nationally. And at the moment we're working strongly with DPIRD on a drought hub program, one of 8 across Australia. That's just been released by the Minister for Ag. So over to CWFS, which was just a joy to work in, and probably still where my heart lies. That's a group that has had a huge amount of success, and I think it's fair to say that probably that success has come because they've remained clear to their strategy. They were originally formed out of adversity in 1993 when they realised that they had a problem. That commodity prices for most of the farming systems were low. They had issues with soil erosion because the tillage cropping programs that were around then, it's just at the time of no-till coming in, were a problem, and the varieties that were coming from the eastern states didn't really suit the Esperance Port Zone region. So they realised that they had to take matters into their own hands. So they formed their group and set about trying to fix things. And they still have the same core business today that they had back then, which was to understand what the issues were in their system, and then and that mainly came through demonstration sites that were established at the time to test varieties that were coming in. And today there's just under 50 farmer scale demonstration sites that are still put in every year around the port zone, of which it's about a 350 kilometre radius. So they have 25 to 30 sponsors, which provide that core funding to the group. And last year there was over $2 million worth of projects that we were running, along with tours and events. There's about 300 farming members, and they represent about 80 to 90% of the grain grown in the port zone. So Esperance, I think, remains quite different probably to other parts of the state. It's very isolated, and it also has quite large farming operations there. And so it's interesting what Ken was saying. It's a chicken and egg thing, I guess. There's a large, I think we have the fastest turnover of new machinery in Australia, and a lot of just 100% cropping programs. So so I guess with the bigger machinery and bigger farms, you can afford to have people come in and support you when it comes to things like variable rate technology. So that has been something that's been, I guess, a point of difference with CWFS to maybe to other areas. And I think growers have seen that that they've seen the results of pulling together and working together to collaborate, to share the information that they're learning. And so CWFS has, I think, gained a name for being quite innovative. And I'd like to say it's because of the staff that they have there, but it's actually not. It's because of that culture of collaboration that's come from right back at the start, where they learnt through that adversity that if they worked together, they could achieve things. And so that still remains today, and they still go on tours overseas to understand their end users, and they still run those same trials and demonstration sites to be able to try and push the barrier and fix the issues that they have. And as staff members, we were there to support that and to of course to drive the governance of the organisation. So yeah, so I can go on forever about what they do, but that's probably in a nutshell. I just want to close maybe in just saying that I think that growers and grower groups that are at a key time at the moment, where the federal government is talking about this 100 billion by 2030, and it's all about collaboration and innovation, and that can only be achieved from the ground up. And I think it's an exciting time for grower groups, and I hope that the support finally comes. Diana was talking about it, and Ken too. Grower groups run on the smell of an oily rag, and it's quite frustrating sometimes. You see a lot of research that sits with universities and in governments, and grower groups have, as the support in the regions has shifted. We were left, well, I still say we, still having to fix all of that. And we had bushfires go through Esperance in 2015, and it was SEPWA that actually had to respond to that. And yeah, there's just so many things that grower groups do now. So it would be great if there was a stronger support from government, especially federally, for groups. And I feel that there is a shift, and that is coming.
Thanks, Nikki. We're big fans of from the ground up farming together. All believe that it starts with those relationships as farmers working together with others out of need. And you know, I think your point of collaboration starting out of almost a necessity or adversity gives it all the more power and strength in terms of the likelihood of being successful, I think, because it really strengthens everyone around that core vision and purpose. Yeah, so absolutely that resonates with what we've seen and heard as well. I'm interested in the gap. Obviously, you know, Farming Together is part of a university as well, Southern Cross University. So we're always really interested in this. Sometimes what seems like a gap between research and practice, and whether it's farmer-led research projects that are solving on the ground problems, or whether it's a translation problem between their research and then translation to farmers. I'm just interested in your views on that and why you think that gap exists.
I think it's about networks. So I know in Esperance we're 750 kilometres from Perth, and we would hear from a research organisation when they needed us to endorse their application for a research program, and we pretty much didn't hear from them again. So I think that probably, and I'm not really having a go at universities, because it's usually where that kind of happened. But I think that what we've found, and I think that's what is the general consensus now, is that there's been a lot of investment in research, and especially as RDCs like GRDC have just got more and more money. But it's actually, a lot of it's not having much impact. And there's a discord between growers and what they're trying to achieve and the research that's happening. And I think growers, in a lot of times, especially in the Esperance region, they've just started doing their own research because they are wanting to have a faster turnaround on what it is that they're trying to get to the bottom of. So I think that's a sentiment. I'm sure Diana and Ken would agree. And I'm hopeful that there is going to be some change. I think the latest reports that have come out from Minister Littleproud have kind of spelt that out quite clearly.
Great. Simone, have we got any questions up in the chat box?
No, there are none. If anyone does have any final questions for Nikki or for any of the other guests this evening, please pop them in the chat box now. And if not, we might it might be time to say thank you very much for an amazing evening here and afternoon over in WA as well. It's been really valuable. It's been really informative, and you've got very inspiring stories. I think what Amanda shared at the start around how humble you all are was very true. You're doing absolutely amazing, to me, revolutionary things in the industries that you're working in, and it's fantastic just to hear you share those stories.
And we'd love the opportunity to share them more as well through our Farming Together network. So if you've got any great stories to share, send them through. We'd love to let everyone know about what's happening in your worlds, because I think it's through sharing those stories that we get the opportunity to learn as well. So thank you all very much for joining us tonight, and thank you to our audience for the questions as well. We're going to make this recording available on our website at www.farmingtogether.com.au, and I think we'll we'll email out the webinar recording as well. Now, next week, Simone, what number are we up to?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to our audience as well. And did you have anything else you wanted to say there, Ken? So I think I cut you off before.
Well, I could go on for ages, but I would like to thank Simone and Amanda very much. I mean, without people like yourselves, it sort of just gets wasted into the ether. But having, farming needs people like you. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much, Ken.
I concur. Thank you, Simone and Amanda.
Oh, we love our farmers. Like Nikki said, it makes your job really enjoyable when you're working with people that are the salt of the earth. And we love what we do. So thank you.
And lots of thanks in the chat to the guests this evening too. So everyone's really enjoyed listening tonight. So next week, drum roll, which we don't.
Same time, same place. We actually are talking about sharing data again, because it seems to be such an important topic at the moment. So this is about building trust and the power of collective data. And it's about two different groups of beef producers who have worked together through benchmarking to improve their performance and profitability. And they're two quite different stories, and they're really fascinating stories. So if you want to learn more about how to build trust, share data, and improve profitability, same time, same place next week.
Well done.
All right. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.